Good morning. I hope you had a good night. I've been thinking about what Ajahn Pasano said to me one time about how it's not like it is in the books, in the reality of our practice. And I really appreciate that about the Thai forest tradition. What's been passed down from other teachers like Ajahn Man and Ajahn Chah, Ajahn Mahabua, that the practice of Dhamma, the experience you have, is likely to not look like what was described to you in the books or from teachers either. Sometimes it is. Sometimes people will have an experience that is textbook. But for the most part, I think we need to use what we read and what we hear as guidance, as pointers, and then really find out what it is for ourselves, because it's likely to be different. And one of the things that can stall us sometimes is the wish for something to happen that isn't happening, but someone else reports that they have that experience, or it's something that we are expecting because that's what we're told is supposed to happen. It should unfold like this. And it's not. So it's important as part of the practice to recognize that for me, for you, it might be very different, and yet have the same or many of the same elements. So when I think about the 7 factors of awakening, I think we all have them to some degree, and how we develop them and how we experience them might be variable. So mindfulness we're very aware of, right? We've heard a lot about it and we've practiced it a lot, and you probably have an idea or you have a sense in yourself of what mindfulness is like for you. To be aware, to be present, to be attentive to something. And then how it gets used with emotion, for example, and being present with the feelings that come up in the body, and using mindfulness and clear comprehension or wisdom to investigate and unravel what's really going on for us. And that investigation can take so many different forms. When you read about investigation of states, sometimes the way it's translated, Dhamma Vijaya, or investigation of Dhamma, sometimes it's just being with what's happening in your body and your mind. Just seeing what's there. And then we've been talking about it as a way to invite insight with questions. And for you need to, each of us, it's up to us to kind of get to know ourselves and see, what is investigation like? How can I bring a sense of curiosity to this? Or maybe for you it's not curiosity, maybe it's something else. what is it that helps you understand and kind of unpack the experience you're having. And the same with the other factors. It's like, where do you find joy? It's likely not to be the same. It makes sense that it's not the same for everyone. If it feels like joy isn't really so available, then think about the ways that you find joy in life in general. I know we're saying, we have to focus on the spiritual experience and let go of sensual pleasures. But sometimes, in order to kind of prime the pump of joy, we need to look at the wholesome things that we can do in the world that make us happy. And there are those, so there's, obviously sensual pleasures that cause problems in our life. We don't want to engage in those, or as little as possible. And there are sensual pleasures that bring happiness that is quite innocent. And there are the sensual pleasures that actually I feel like kind of border on or have a kind of an opening the way to spiritual pleasure, like enjoying nature. It's sensual in its, in the fact that we listen to the sounds of the birds or the water. We see the sun shining on the leaves and, it's sensual, but it also starts to bring up this kind of internal happiness, this kind of more spiritual joy, feeling the energy of the forest, if you will, or the quiet of the forest. And there might be other things like that too. Like last night I mentioned music. Music can be, it can, we're so susceptible, it's not quite the right word. we're very affected by music. And when we talk about, with 8 precepts, we avoid entertainment. That's about, avoid being distracted in a way that we never really look inside, or we avoid looking inside. We avoid being with what we're really experiencing. But in other ways, music can really lift up the heart, bring us happiness, joy, calming, peaceful feelings. And that might be helpful as we turn more and more inwards, and then we let go of the external stimulation. In the same way that I would say guided meditation, guided meditation can be helpful. Can be helpful for developing meditation. It can be helpful for calming the mind. It can be helpful for, kind of showing us a direction to go or a technique to use. But at some point we let it go because the deeper experience is silent and inside. So we can use things like this that come from the sensual world that help us move in a spiritual direction. How is it that you develop tranquility? What helps you relax and be calm and still alert? Sometimes the body benefits from a warm cup of tea, right? To relax. Or some exercise, letting go of the tension. So we use the body, which is a very sensual thing, in those innocent ways that are not going to be distracting and agitating and create more entanglement, but in ways that can help us to really become calm, be relaxed. Letting go of stress. So by now you may know what are the things that help bring about settledness of mind. How do I cultivate? How do you cultivate samadhi? It doesn't have to be like it is in the books, so maybe it's not all the characteristics they describe, or maybe it's not coming in the way that you've been told it should. But when you notice that the mind is getting more and more quiet, and thoughts are starting to recede to the background, or maybe there's a moment when, or a period of time when there's some kind of dropping in to a deeper space. You don't even have to worry if it would technically be quote-unquote samadhi. But you can start to feel the benefits of that stillness, of that calm. And there may have been times when you've had surprising things happen with your mind in practice. And there may not be any way to put it into some kind of category or have some kind of label for it. But you can probably tell if it's moving in the direction of peace, of knowing, a deeper understanding, more freedom, more relief. So we use the guideposts, and it might be, when it's helpful, to use the labels of these 7 factors, or any of the other many lists the Buddha made. Then great, if it's helpful to set the intention on becoming equanimous, unfazed, unruffled by what's coming through the mind and the body, then that's good. See what the results are. It's so important to reflect on what the practice you're doing creates in you, what the results are. Because what works for one person may not be the right approach or medicine for you. And sometimes people tell me, because so many times, I was going to say most of the time, and it's probably true, when people do guided meditation, it's related to the breath. And yet there are people for whom it's not comfortable at all. It's not the right approach. And I have a lot of respect for what has been described about Ajahn Chah, where he didn't have a particular required approach to meditation. His disciples said that he would ask them what they're doing, and he would talk with them, listen about it, and he was looking for what the results are. Are you becoming calm? Are you becoming more peaceful? Is it bringing about states of equanimity, stillness, collectedness? And if it is, then fine. And Ajahn Sumedho talked about early on when he came to stay with Ajahn Chah, his practice was letting go. He was just reflecting on letting go. I mean, I'm sure he was, also doing other things in his meditation. But Ajahn Chah's like, that's good. But he said, with the Vinaya, you have to cling to it in order to learn it. So don't let go of that part. Don't let go of the precepts. So I just want to encourage you. You've already done a lot of work. Just want to encourage you to be aware when you feel stuck on something that you're told you should experience or do that just doesn't feel right, or it doesn't feel like it fits, or you really do feel stuck with it. Then try another approach. And see what the results are. And a lot of times we can't really see results in our practice itself, but we see results in our life. We handle things better. We forgive more easily. Maybe we react more skillfully. When something doesn't fit for you, just set it aside. The same is true when you read the suttas. If you're reading a sutta and it's just not making sense, or it doesn't feel encouraging, or in some way just doesn't feel like the right thing, set it aside. Read something else, some other sutta. The Buddha had so many different ways of presenting the Dhamma. And for us, we need to find that, I don't even know if I like that language of we need to. We can. I want to encourage you to find what works for you. And if you have found something or found things that work for you, then keep doing them and know that at some point they may not work so well anymore and it's time to change, and that's okay. And some people benefit by doing the same thing over and over and over and over for a long time. And other people benefit by changing it up. And sometimes we benefit by continuing in what we like to do, and sometimes we benefit by having to do it differently. Doing something we really don't want to do, but then it turns out to be helpful and freeing. So there's no perfect recipe. And your own wisdom is essential for your guidance. And of course, working with someone else and other friends, Kalyanamitas and teachers is really valuable. But it's not about trusting or taking everything that they say and assuming that that's the right approach for you. One time someone asked me how I approach the suttas. Is it, like you believe everything you read and you just follow it, very fundamentalist? I said, well, it depends. No, I don't take everything that's in the suttas at the same value. Some things, most of it, I would say, is very consistent, and I've tried this and it works. Or I can see how it works. There are other things that, okay, maybe I haven't experienced that, not quite sure what that means. I'll just set that aside and see, maybe later that'll make sense. There are some things in there that I think are just completely wrong that got added later or just distorted in some way because they don't even sound like the Buddha. It doesn't fit. We have to use our discernment and our trust in other people. Like I'll often go to Ajahn Pasanno and talk to him about things. And it's helpful, encouraging when he has the same point of view. And I've seen him be so solid for so long that I feel a sense of confidence in that. And I think this is how we should approach our practice. It's such a wonderful thing that the Dhamma has to be known individually, to know it yourself. To take the responsibility for ourselves instead of waiting for someone else to take care of it for us, or wishing or hoping that some higher power will save us. And what's interesting about that is, I think there are devas who do a lot to help us. And asking them for help is also a method, an approach that I think is completely viable. Again, it's an interesting mixture. So I want to encourage you to take the conditions of the present moment and apply what seems to be likely to be helpful, and then observe the results. Moving in the direction that you know is wholesome. Like one of the first, I think I brought the sutta in about Mahapajapati, the advice to Mahapajapati. What's peaceful? What leads to letting go?